Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Another narrative that is running wild, okay? So if you listen to Sunday's show, you know that we talked a little bit about Shedeur Sanders and the NFL Draft, okay? And on Sunday, what we really talked about was, hey, the NFL Draft order is out. The Tennessee Titans officially have the #1 pick, but where it gets interesting is what is Coach Prime and what are Shedeur going to do now that the Tennessee Titans are officially on the clock? Because if you remember, last March of 2024, Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, did an interview with $1 million worth of gain. We talked about it on Sunday, where he said, look, I'm not afraid to quote, and this was a direct quote, pull an Eli. In other words, if I don't believe that it is the right landing spot for Shedeur or Travis Hunter, I am not afraid to get in the way and say, you're not going there. Don't draft my son. Don't draft my adopted son in Travis Hunter. And by the way, that's a metaphorical adopted. I don't think there's any paperwork, but you should get the point. So I bring it up because that was the conversation on Sunday. Let's bring it full circle to Tuesday, because we went from 2 weeks ago, Shedeur is the definitive #1 pick, and maybe he's not going to want to go with whoever gets the #1 pick, to a very polar opposite take just 48 hours later. That is because late last week, the clip didn't really surface until this week, but late last week, apparently Tom Pelissero, NFL insider, went on Rich Eisen's show and gave a pretty spicy meatball of a take. That take, we don't even know if Shedeur Sanders is going in the first round. I'll read the quotes directly. We don't have the video. Here is what Tom Pelissero said. He said, I've already talked to people within the league who don't have anything close to a first-round grade on the guy. The idea that he's just going to walk in and going to be the #1 pick, that's probably pushing it. If I were guessing who comes off the board first, I'd say Shedeur is not the first Colorado player off the board as it stands today. Ooh, buddy, there is a lot to dive into. Let's go ahead and do it right now. First of all, a couple things. One, I love the narrative of, oh, he's the definitive #1 pick 2 weeks ago, to now, oh, he might not go first overall, or he might not even be in the first round. So that's one. Two, I think there's a couple things here. First of all, listen, I'm not questioning Tom Pelissero. I'm sure he's a great reporter, whatever. But I think it's worth noting because I'm in part of these conversations all the time. Just because you've heard from one team, one thing, one whatever, one executive, one GM, one coach, one offensive coordinator, whatever, it doesn't mean that it's common consensus, right? Listen, I talk to coaches all the time. Oh, that kid's not good. That kid, I wouldn't take that kid. He doesn't fit our system. He wouldn't be good, blah, 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 this and that. And then, you know, you talk to another coach and it's like, oh, he's awesome. We would take him in a heartbeat. I wish we had the money to get him. You know, in college, it's the NIL. I wish we had NIL to get that kid. He's just not in our wheelhouse, you know? And so just because this guy heard from one NFL GM or one executive or one scout doesn't mean that that's the consensus. I would take it a step further and say I'm almost positive that that's not the consensus. But I'd also take it a step further. Even if there's question marks, let's also call a spade, okay? The quarterback is the most important position in all of football. And so this notion that Shedeur Sanders, no matter what his grade is, could ever fall to the second round. Listen, I don't even know what the bet is, and maybe somebody can throw something in the chat. I'll donate something to somebody if Shedeur Sanders falls to the second round without any injuries, which aren't going to happen, or character things come out, which certainly aren't going to happen because he seems like a great kid, okay? He's not falling to the second round because the bottom line is there are way too many teams that need a quarterback. So independent of what you think of Shedeur, let's just use our brains, okay? What's the old line from the movie? Remember the movie A League of Their Own? Let's use your head. That's that lump 3 feet above your ass. Okay, sorry for the vulgarity. If you're driving around with kids, I apologize. By the way, I think the A word is okay to say on podcast and YouTube and also radio. I don't think the FCC has a problem with it. But use your head. That's that lump 3 feet above your you know what. Okay. So the bottom line is, even if you don't like Shedeur, let's just look at the NFL draft order. #1 overall, Tennessee Titans. Guess what they need? A freaking quarterback. #2 overall, Cleveland Browns. Probably need a quarterback as well. Deshaun Watson, we'll see. #3 overall, the New York Football Giants, yeah, they need a quarterback. Number 6 overall, the Las Vegas Raiders need a quarterback. There's another team in the top 10. Let me see really quick that I said might need a quarterback. Number 7, the New York Jets might need a quarterback. We don't know. Is Aaron Rodgers coming back? Is he not? The New Orleans Saints at number 9. New head coach, not a new front office with Mickey Loomis, but do they believe Spencer Rattler is the future? Do they believe Jake Hayner is the future? Because if not, they may need to get a quarterback. So this idea that Shedeur is going to fall to the second round is ridiculous. And what I would also say is I just find it ridiculous that we are already 2 days after the draft order came out, completely picking apart his game. And I do think, and I talk about this all the time, we as a society are such prisoners of the last thing that we have seen rather than the totality of what we have seen over the course of a week or a month or a year or a season or whatever. Let me give you an example. Georgia Notre Dame, college football semifinal. I picked Notre Dame to win. Now, I get a lot of stuff wrong, but why did I pick Notre Dame? I said we're too focused on the last thing we saw from Georgia, which was the SEC championship game. What I said was Georgia has been inconsistent all year. Some games they're really good. Some games they're really bad. Should have lost to Kentucky. Could have lost here. Could have lost to Georgia Tech at home on senior day. So stop getting caught up in the last thing you saw, them beat Texas in the college football playoff. And also, let's make sure to remember that this was a team that was inconsistent all year. And so I think so many people are caught up with Shedeur's most recent performance against BYU, which was not good, that they're freaking out. But the counter to that is, first of all, I don't think it was terrible. I think he was just running for his life because the Colorado O-line was obviously completely overmatched by the BYU front seven. By the way, hot take. I think you could argue BYU got more screwed missing the playoff than anybody from the SEC or Miami. BYU had a win over SMU, 10-2, whatever, another conversation. BYU was awesome, okay? And so Shedeur Sanders, I'm not going to blame him that against the best defensive front he saw all year, he was getting chased around. He didn't have a great game. But you can see the stats on the screen. This was the season. 4,100 yards passing, 41 total touchdowns, second most in the FBS, 74% completion percentage for Shedeur Sanders. That's not my opinion. Those are just facts. You know what also is a fact? NFL offensive coordinator, Pat Shurmur. So there's none of this, oh, he played in this system and how is it going to adjust? He played in a pro-style system for the last 2 years. Beyond that, I think this is important. A lot of career starts. Look at the guys that are having success early this year. Bo Nix, million career starts in college football. Jaden Daniels, million career starts in college football. Michael Penix, I know it's hard to say how good he was because he barely played, but 1 million starts. Caleb Williams statistically was good even if he struggled. A lot of starts in college. That matters. Who are the guys that are bust? Trey Lance started 1 season in 1 game his last year. Zach Wilson, 1 good season, played against basically a group of 5 schedule that final year. So I could go on and on. But Shedeur did it at a high level for an offensive coordinator. A lot of different, a lot of career starts. And I just don't understand this notion that he's a second-round pick because, again, take my bias out of it. Take what Torres thinks out of it. Too many teams need a quarterback. And I also don't believe that he's bad. Big arm, accurate downfield, 4,100 passing yards. He had more passing yards than half the NFL quarterbacks. He had more passing yards than Caleb Williams in 13 games instead of Caleb Williams 17 games. Now, I'm not blaming Caleb Williams. I'm just stating that as a fact. Second most in FBS. No run game. Bad offensive line. This kid's going top 10. I think he's going top 3. I think somebody might trade up. I don't know who it is. But this notion that he's going in the second round, I don't know what else there is to say.